Hey guys, welcome back to Ultimate Ass and Ass. So I wanted to come out here and check and see how our mealworms are doing and see if we can give something to the chickens. So let's check this thing out. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of different stages here. We have some medium growth. We have a lot of beetles that are laying eggs, and then there's a bunch of little wigglers in there. So we're going to get a scoop of this out of here. All right, so I just want to check to see what all we've got. See, there's a lot of our mealworms in here. We're going to take this out to the chickens. I'm not going to worry about trying to get the oats out of here. We're going to leave that in there. The chickens will eat that. They'll do just fine with that. But this will make a nice little snack for those guys. So as we're walking back here, I got to kind of keep an eye on the ground for snakes. I seen a water moccasin back here the other day. Went ahead and dispatched that. That is one of the areas, or one of the things about living in Florida, you're going to run into snakes, especially in fielded areas, but it's not too bad. But I try to give these to these guys about once every couple weeks. I'll bring something out here, and I've been bringing them out. I figured I'd just kind of show you what we got going on. And you don't want to let your bucket get low. You want to get a scoop, and always make sure that you leave your beetles back in there, because that's what's going to lay your eggs for your next generation of these power worms. Yeah, so as you can see, there is a lot of them in there. They are just moving around like crazy. Different sizes, smalls to mediums. I don't have a whole lot of larges. I notice if I feed them a lot of fresh greens, you're going to have a little bit larger beetles, or I should say the power worms, not the beetles themselves. But make sure that you do not feed a bunch of your beetles. You can look around, just kind of shift this around. I think we probably got one, yeah, right there in the corner. So he's going to get eaten by these chickens right here. Let's see how they like it. So he's been kind of moody here lately, man. He does not like me coming in and messing with the hens while they're laying. If you look, our Brahma is actually back laying inside the coop right now. So he's going to be kind of protective of her. He's not really charged me much, but I don't really trust him because he is a rooster. Yeah, as you can see, that little aggressive motion. So what I do is I come in very gently, and I make sure that I do not disturb the hens if possible. See if we can get this open here. I hear you, buddy. Alright, so you can hand feed them. I don't like handling power worms that have a tendency to bite. But if you look, we have all kinds of movement down here. We're going to step back and let them do their thing. Come on over, buddy. Inspect it. So you'll notice he comes over, he checks it out. He makes that little cluck cluck sound to let the hens know that there's something good to eat. And they will sit there and they will pick out every single one of these worms. And then they'll eat the oatmeal. You can see we have our bowl of calcium over here next to them. I am now buying a layers feed for the chickens because they have went up on the price of that crushed oyster shell. I do take the chicken eggs and I crush them up, pulverize them, as well as the quail eggs, and I give that to the quail as a supplement. With these guys, I just buy the layers feed. It's not a high enough protein for my quail, but it's perfect for the chickens. Then we've got Stan over here in the back. This is my auxiliary rooster. He is a black copper Moran. Beautiful rooster. I'm gonna have to bring him a snack out here too because he will feel left out. But if I do not feed Hank and the ladies first, Hank gets an attitude and he likes to come and charge the fence if you don't feed them first. I've not had him actually attack me yet, but I also don't trust him. Okay, so round two, we're gonna come out, we're gonna take care of Stan. I think I need to start bringing 2 scoops out here so I ain't got to make the trip back and forth from the shed. But it gives me a little bit of exercise, and Lord knows I could probably lose about 8 pounds still to reach my goal of 180. We're pretty close to it, but not too worried about it, to be honest, because as hot as it is, I'm going to sweat that off one good day in the garden. All right, so we are over here with Stan the man. Making you mad at me over here, ain't it? And you will have a dominant rooster if you have more than one in the yard. I should have brought a tripod. Let's try this. Here you go, buddy. Oh yeah, so he's got quite a few in his little cage there. All right, we got into a little better position here. Check your food out, bud. He's going to be antisocial with the camera today. Yeah, so they love the power worms, they really do. But I tried not to give them too much of that, because while it's a good source of protein and calcium, you also want to make sure that you don't give your roosters too much calcium, because they don't really need a lot of calcium, unlike your hens. And if you give one chick or one chicken or whatever too much protein, you can actually cause fatty liver disease with those guys. So you got to be careful what you give your chickens. And that's basically what it looks like throughout the day. I just kind of come back, give the chickens some fresh vegetables. We're going to be putting some more leafy greens out in the garden for them, which should help just give them the vitamins and stuff they need. I've been enjoying the eggs, and it's kind of like an exchange, a little interaction with them. Bring them back some fresh vegetables and collect the eggs. I'm averaging now, I'm actually getting about 3 eggs a day. Sometimes these hens will lay every day. Sometimes 1 or 2 of them might miss, but the other hens do make up that difference. So when you have 5 hens, expect you might get around 3 eggs a day, which is kind of nice. Sometimes you get 4 or 5, just depends on the day. And then with all of the quail eggs that we're getting, it's great. So some real good news that we've had. My dad went out to his heart doctor today and had some things checked out, and we just kind of talked to them about what we was looking at with the diet, growing stuff around here, and what we were eating. And where he had recently had a stent, he had 2 arteries that were almost completely blocked. And with the medication they gave him and the change of the diet, just eating what we grow here, those 2 arteries have now opened back up. So that is an answer to prayer. But that is why it's important to grow your own food, whether it's meat sources and vegetable sources and even fruits and stuff, guys. It's going to give you a healthier option than the stuff you're finding in the store. We had some of our subscribers comment in on one of our other videos. It was talking about some of the zucchini and stuff that they purchased at the store, and what it was for 3 zucchini, and they actually was only able to keep half of a zucchini because the rest of it was not fit to eat. And that is something that I run into when I go check out the produce section. Is a lot of the food that they have there is real piffy, and it's just, if you don't know what piffy is, that means it's real soft. It's almost rotting to the point it's past its ripe stage. And it's important that you don't eat stuff like that, because as food breaks down, as anything decomposes, it releases different types of chemicals, and that can actually be hazardous to your body as well. So you need to look at what you're eating, try to balance out your diet if you can. The main thing is it's healthy, it's working, and it's cut way back on the grocery bills, so we can add other things into it that we might want, because we don't have any fresh fruits around here really. We have a blueberry bush that doesn't really put out a whole lot right now. Hopefully that's going to change here in the next few years. We're going to come in, I'm going to explain what we're going to do to try and get some more blueberries. You can try to grow them from seed if you want to. Me personally, I wouldn't bother with that. What you want to do is wait for the fall of the year, and then you want to come in and you want to go for new sprouts that'll be coming up. And you take these sprouts and you will just get those to graft for a root. And that's real easy to do, and that's something we're going to do as a project on this channel later. But the reason you want to wait for fall is you don't want to be cutting on your plants while the sap is up, as they say, because it can cause issues, it cause health issues with the plants and stuff. So they're not actually to the point where they're going to be closing off wounds, say losing leaves and stuff like that, like they do in the winter. And harvest time, you can actually damage your plant if you are not pulling your berries off properly. If you're not getting your fruits and vegetables off of your plants properly, you're going to damage your plant, and it'll cause insect infestations and things like that. So I want to show you one of our little zucchinis that's growing over here and explain how you would pick this thing when it's ready. Okay, so here we are at the garden with zucchini. If you went to harvest this, you're going to want to cut this up about a ½ inch above this piece of the vine. If you cut too close, you're going to continue to pump nutrients and stuff to build a zucchini that's no longer there, and that's going to hurt your plant. But it's also going to create an area where the insects are going to want to come in and eat. This back area here is very bitter. I don't know if you've ever tried to taste it. They say you can eat all this stuff on a zucchini plant. My experience has been it is very bitter. Could you eat it? Sure. Will I eat it? Not unless I absolutely have to. And we're going to look at our okra here. So on our okra plants, this pod obviously is not ready. Where are we at here? You would cut the stem back about 3/4 of an inch from the end of the pod. As we've done down here, you see how that's healed up nicely? See if we can zoom that. See how it's concaved and it's sealed off? This will actually kick off 2 more shoots later. That's going to give us a couple more pods. So all of that really works out well. My cantaloupe is looking really good down this one row. It's growing pretty quick. I got to come out here and do some. But as you can see, we have a lot of cantaloupe coming in. We're going to put a fence up here for that to run. It's almost to the point where it's going to start running, so we want to run that so it climbs rather than runs on the ground. It's just easier to get to and maintain. So when you have cantaloupe producing, you see how it's starting to get this kind of a texture, but you still see a lot of green. When a cantaloupe is ready, there's 2 ways you can tell. One, it's not going to sound hollow when you thump it, but more importantly, this is going to be textured. You're not going to see much green. It's going to be cream and browns, but it will actually detach itself from that stem. That stem will actually come off. Let's go to one that's a little bit bigger size here, show you what we got. So you can see how it's starting to texture. We still have a lot of green in the background though, so this is not ready. This will turn brown, cream colored, whatever you want to call it, and it'll have this raised ridge that's pretty predominant. But also down here, you're going to end up with what I would call a belly button, which is where this is going to recess. This vine that's feeding that cantaloupe there, that's actually going to flatten out, and it's going to detach itself when it's ripe. So there's really no guessing when your cantaloupe's ready. It's going to tell you. It's going to detach itself from the vine, which is really nice. We got a lot of cucumbers coming in. We had a really nice rain that was not actually looking for it. It wasn't on the forecast, but it come up a big rain yesterday. We ended up pulling about 6 or 7 more off of this, and just from this morning, and these things have doubled in size. Let's see this here. These have doubled in size since this morning. They grow very fast. The white spine cucumbers do. So this other section of the garden over here, this is a long, smooth skin cucumber that's growing over here. And here are our plants, and they're coming in nice. They're growing in. I'm gonna have to get my fence up over here the next few days for these to climb up. And if you don't feel like dealing with, putting an area in for them to climb, or maybe you just don't have the funds to do that, you can just keep it weeded around the ground. But like you've seen with that one cantaloupe that's on the ground growing, unfortunately, when you have that kind of a situation, you got to weed around that thing constantly. Otherwise, you're going to get pests that's going to attack your fruits. So we're going to be having at least a couple cantaloupes here in the next week or 2. And then them other ones, hopefully they'll start producing out here soon. It takes about a month and a half, almost 2 months for them to really start flowering out and producing. At least that's been my experience with it so far in this area. I think the hotter it is, the better it does, but you don't want it in direct sunlight. So that if you looked at where all my stuff's at, it's got a really good shade going on right now, which is nice because it's getting hot. I mean, we're looking at, it says it's 101 today. I think the real feels a little hotter than that. I've been outside for about 5 minutes and it is cooking out here today. But I hope everyone's having a wonderful day. I am going to get off of here and get some air conditioning.
Hey, hit that subscribe button. It's right there. Did they hit the subscribe button?